Take my heart, Papa. My father, a devout Catholic, had an anecdote that beautifully illustrated the biblical observation concerning willing spirits but weak flesh. A beloved but ailing Pope Purity, high above a huge gathering on St. Peter's Square, says Mass from his balcony and in his homily confirms that his debilitated heart is failing and that he has but days to live. As Purity speaks, a man cries out, "Take my heart, Papa, take my heart!" The Pope acknowledges the cry of the devout, crosses himself as benediction, and continues to deliver Mass. But as Purity speaks, more people join in the man's heartfelt, "Take my heart, Papa, take my heart!" Moved but resolute, Purity continues with Mass, and while Purity is performing transubstantiation, 3 white doves land on the altar before him. One dove reaches down and plucks a downy feather from her breast, hops to the Pope and offers it to him. At the sight of the miracle, the crowd surges forward. The chant, now universal and deafening, overwhelms Purity, and through the steady, "Take my heart, Papa, take my heart," the Pope raises his hand, immediately silencing the crowd. "My most loving and generous brothers and sisters," Purity declares, "I thought your offer of life to me at the expense of one of you too dear, but God has spoken through the doves. Humbly, I will accept your gift, and we shall let God himself decide who among you will bless me with your life." Purity raises the dove's feather high above his head, steps from the altar, leans over the balcony's rail, and tearfully declares, "On whomever this feather alights, he shall renew me with his heart." The crowd's zealous chant again erupts, but now after every heartfelt, "Take my heart, Papa, take my heart" declaration, there is an added whooshing sound of air being blown forcefully upward in an attempt to alter the course of the descending feather. Life and death, as Purity's situation was, we are all facing an equally threatening dilemma from the perils of climate change, a peril which 16-year-old Greta Thunberg has been making big headlines with since her September speech to the United Nations. It is clear that climate change is real, as is the need for us to stop pouring massive amounts of carbon emissions into the air, essential if we wish to slow rather than exacerbate a naturally occurring climate cycle. I find disgusting the ad hominem attacks against a child, and these attacks show the absolute desperation of climate change deniers who attack the messenger when their alt facts flail and fail to refute the science that so clearly shows that we must act if we wish to keep the earth habitable for human beings. I applaud Greta and her efforts to get all of us to reduce our carbon boot prints, but we must ask ourselves what we are doing in the fight against climate change. Are we merely wringing our hands demanding the government do something while living lives that show disdain for the environment? Do we acknowledge a need for action, declare dismay over the fate of the world, but continue to lead carbon-heavy lives? Are we promising Earth we will save her, while blowing the feather of burden into the air, hoping that some deus ex machina miracle will descend and save us without any effort or sacrifice on our part? What is the point of heartfelt declarations of concern and need for change if we exhibit no change in personal behavior? Our actions must follow our hearts if we wish to create a more verdant and sustainable earth. Otherwise, we're just blowing hot